get asked this question a lot, and I've also been asking a lot of people this same question of whether a computer science degree is worth it. And the answer is no, it's not. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about the benefits as well as the cons of getting a computer science degree and considering if it is worth it or not. So a lot of entrepreneurs are saying that a degree isn't worth it anymore. And there was one YouTuber in particular that I watched that said basically getting a degree in general isn't worth the output that you would get at the end of it. And I think that's true. So let's try to look at, my background and to compare a computer science degree versus not getting one. So just to give you guys some context, I have my PhD in computer science. So it took me 9 years to get my bachelor's degree, my master's, and then my PhD. And I first started off getting my psychology degree. And one of the first questions that I asked my professor was, what can I do with a bachelor's degree in psychology? And they said, you can't really do much. You need to get your master's or even your PhD in order to be competitive in the field. And to me, I didn't want to go to school that long, so I switched to computer science because I really like computers, I like playing games, so it'd be really nice to create those games. Ironically, here I am with my PhD in computer science, but that's besides the point. Okay, so let's try to compare getting a 4-year computer science degree versus going to bootcamp. In a bootcamp, you pay around 5 to 10K and you go to school for 3 months to learn practical skills in computer science. I think it's like a full-time job. You're there 8 hours a day. And a bachelor's degree, you're paying at our university, I think it's around 5K per semester, and that's in-state tuition. And if you're paying out-of-state tuition, that's potentially like double or triple more. And you're paying for 4 years if you're finishing on time. And I think most people are finishing later, so it takes 4.5 to 5 years. And so you compare that to someone who just finished their bootcamp and maybe they get a job within a couple months of finishing their bootcamp. They can start making money as soon as they get out. Whereas someone with a computer science degree, it still might take them months to land their first job. So if you get lucky with a computer science degree, you might start off a little bit higher, maybe 60, 70K a year. And when you go the bootcamp route, maybe say, let's start off with 40 to 50K, which is pretty low on getting a tech job. When you finish your bootcamp for those extra 3 years that the computer science degree holder is going to school for, you can start making money and gaining experience before the even computer science person finishes. So you are building money and building the skills that are needed from what you would need in order for people to see your skills or hire you. So in financial terms, you're just compounding your experience, but you're also gaining money over time with a bootcamp. So let's compare that when you have 10 years of experience. So let's try to compare getting a PhD. It took me 9 years to get my job versus someone who finished their bootcamp in 3 months and they have like 9 years of experience, and then they both apply to the same job. If you get a PhD holder in computer science and you get someone who has close to 10 years of experience, they would more likely hire the person who has 10 years of experience. So in terms of just like financial success, getting a computer science degree or trying to find a job and making money, it isn't worth it in my eyes, in my opinion. So maybe let's try to look at what the benefits are if you are getting a computer science degree. What kind of knowledge are you going to be gaining? So I think when you go to a boot camp, I don't know what it's like to be in a boot camp. I spent all my time in academia, but what I got from it from other people is that you learn a lot of the practical skills in there. So you're learning about all the tools that are available. You're learning about things that you can use to apply to industry. Whereas in university, I think you're learning more about the theory of how everything works. You're learning how the computers work internally, how data is stored in memory, how databases work, and why you would want to store information in two separate locations. You're building a good foundation of what you need to know in order to build systems that are robust. I think people in boot camps, they might be learning tools that they could immediately utilize when they go into industry. People in computer science, they might be learning that knowledge in order to build those tools that boot camps might be teaching about, for example. And one of the things that you might want to consider when you are considering a computer science degree, or rather just maybe teaching it yourself, is that when you're self-taught, that there is so much information that is available. And then when you go to somewhere like a bootcamp or a university, you have all of these mentors that are guiding you along the way and trying to steer you in the right direction of what is good habits versus bad habits. I strongly believe that you need to have some sort of like mentor, or maybe like a group of mentors that can teach you the good habits in order for you to utilize when you're learning a certain subject, especially for computer science. Because let's take, for example, something like machine learning. So machine learning, it has a lot of like nuances that you need to learn in order to utilize it. You can do one thing in so many different ways. For example, trying to parse a piece of text to see whether the person writing it is having a positive review or it's a negative review. You might use something like regular expressions, looking at certain keywords in there for seeing if it's good or not. You can build a classifier using a bunch of different embeddings, so numerical representations of the text, or you could just give all the text to a large language model and classify it if it's good or not, positive or negative. So all of those different ways you can do it, and if you don't know about that, then it becomes difficult for you to implement it in the future, where you might be using regular expressions a lot, whereas just using large language models is the new way of processing text. And I think in academia or in university, you also learn that there's trade-offs between the two of them. And then there's maybe certain situations where you would use one over the other. So getting a computer science degree is more of a guide. So one thing that I would recommend for people who are considering a computer science degree is not to just learn everything from your professors. You need to go above and beyond things that they're teaching you. I say it's only used as a guide. So one of the things that you can do to optimize the effectiveness of your computer science degree is to not just to learn the things that the professors are teaching you. Your grades, you're probably more centered around your grades and how you're doing in school. You're making sure you're getting A's. But honestly, when you finish your degree and when you go to work in industry, I don't think they're really looking at your grades. If I saw someone with average grades, maybe like some B's and C's, and then I saw that they've built all these cool projects, like maybe a video game that they care really deeply about, maybe they have some users on the website that they've been creating, maybe they have some research publications. So these are all other things that I think matter more so than basically your grades. So as you're learning the things that the professors are teaching you and the theory, go out and apply it and learn some tools that are utilizing that information. And then maybe you can build a list of how all the industry tools are working, and you can see which ones are using what theories, why they're using certain libraries over the other, why they have to write their own code themselves instead of using a library or some kind of cloud function that they could have used online. The main takeaway of that is basically don't just get a computer science degree for just getting the degree. You need to learn and squeeze the lemon for all it has. And yeah. So another thing to consider when you are trying to think of whether you need a computer science degree or not, is especially if you want to get into academia or if you want to do research, then definitely getting a degree is worth it. In order for you to do research or to publish scientific knowledge, you need to have a PhD, in order for you to get there. And then if you want to be a professor, if that's something that you care very deeply about, then of course you need a PhD in order to get there. So another thing to consider too, when you are wondering if you need a computer science degree or if it's worth it, is that you get to network. There's many people who I've talked to, myself included, where I've met people who have been very valuable in my life. I consider them lifelong friends. They're people who I probably keep up with for a very long time. And they've been people who I was able to talk to and have fun and learn about and do things together. And that's maybe something that you might not get if you were to be self-taught or if you went to go to a bootcamp. You meet mentors, you can meet co-workers in the future, you can meet people that you can reach out to, and you can collaborate on projects. So when you go to academia, especially in computer science, you're going to work on a lot of projects. And those group projects, a lot of times in group projects, you're working with people who aren't as motivated. Some of them, a lot of the times, you're going to be working with people who basically just want their degree and they want to finish school and get out of there. They don't care about computer science. There's other cases where you might meet people who they're proud of the projects that they're producing. So in those cases, those are the people who you want to keep close to you. And those are people that you can reach out to in the future if you ever need something. Because I think there's a high probability that those people who are trying hard in their projects, they're going to be the more successful people in computer science. And being in school and college, you get to meet a lot of people, so those people might turn into your future spouse. For me, I met my fiance in middle school. We've been together since 8th grade of middle school, so it wasn't the case for me, but maybe if you're someone who's single and you are looking for a chance to meet someone new, going to college in general might be something to consider for you. So what did we take away from this video? If you're going to college just for money, it's probably not worth it. But if you're going to college for building a good foundation for your knowledge around computer science, or if you're going there for networking, or maybe you have a goal to do research or be a professor, then it's absolutely worth it. But it all depends on what you want and how you define success. These are also just my thoughts from coming from a background with a PhD in computer science. I recommend that you do your own research to consider other things that I may not have mentioned within this video. Maybe go to ChatGPT and then ask, is a computer science degree worth it? Give me a list of things to consider whether to get a degree or not. Yeah, and then that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoy it, and I hope this helped one of you guys out in considering whether a computer science degree is worth it or not. So yeah, thanks.